Hello and welcome. We are live on a special Easter edition of Highly Articulated. I am Adam, of course, as the name in the little bubble implies. Joining me today are regulars to the show. No need for any introduction. Auston, what's going on, my friend?
Oh, house sitting for the brother, hence the different backdrop.
Yeah, before we started, I said that backdrop looks oddly familiar because I knew that you were at your brother's, but it's a little bit different, so it's a bit of a trip. But and then all the way from out east, we've got I want to add. There it is, Steve. Steve, how's it going, my friend?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Very well, very
Happy
well.
Easter.
Indeed. Do you guys get any extra days off? For the long weekend?
We do. We get a 5-day weekend, which is amazing. So
Five?
Yeah.
How does that even work?
Clever
Thursday or
scheduling.
Tuesday.
Go back on Wednesday.
Jeez.
Oh, lucky.
Just in time for a
I
strike
worked
vote.
Friday. I get Monday, so I get a 3-day weekend.
See, I was the opposite. I worked Monday, but I had Friday.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's better than nothing, though, right?
Oh,
I guess it's. We're going to talk today about toys. Obviously, that should come as no surprise to anybody. But what we're going to get into a little bit is actually playing with our toys and sort of, when did we switch from people that had toys that we played with to people that had collections of toys, and why, and how does that sort of impact our collecting, and is it possible to get that back? Is it possible to sort of regain the magic, to regain the creativity of toys that we had as a kid? But first, we're going to talk a little bit of toy news. But before we even get into that, we're going to do pickups. So Auston, I'm going to save you for last because you messaged me and you were like, "We're doing pickups, right?" Because I'm really excited to show what I got. Steve, did you get anything?
I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. I'm so excited to show off this stuff.
I have a confirmed pre-order that I'll have. I think sometime this week I'll get my Warduke, which is pretty cool.
Oh, okay. Yeah, your the NECA one.
Yeah, the NECA Warduke, and I've got a NECA RoboCop and a NECA Predator 2 waiting for me, like for pickup. So I'm looking forward to those. I'm not deep diving into NECA, but just a few pickups here and there, and fighting the urge to get those old 90 Ninja Turtles figures. Oh man, I'm jonesing. They look so good.
NECA does a really good job of offering a lot of different IPs that and I feel like as soon as they get you with one or two, it's that much easier because you start trusting the brand, you start getting them in hand and sort of knowing what to expect. If you never get a brand in hand, at least you can kind of go like, well, I don't know. I mean, I've never had one, so I'm not sure. And there's not the familiarity. But as soon as you're familiar, like whether that's NECA or Super 7 or Four Horsemen Studios, like all these brands are sort of people's apprehension is very often like, well, like I'll stick with Hasbro and Mattel and the stuff that I've known my whole life, but once you get into that stuff, you realize that it just blows all the other stuff out of the water because the quality is just so much better.
I said I was only going to stick with Joe, but
look, we were all there at some point, right? Like for me, getting back into action figures, it was Marvel Legends, and I was good with that for a minute, and then it was, well, I mean, look behind me. There's a lot more going on there. And I say Marvel Legends, but my 3 items that I've got for this week, none of them are Marvel Legends. This is the last of my Mythic Legions All-Stars 5+ that I have yet to unbox. I got almost all of the wave, most of them in duplicates. This is sort of the last of the extra duplicates. Absolutely fantastic figures. Pick these up from eCollectibles.ca. Some of them are still available. I don't know if all of them are still available. But Mythic Legions, if you've never had one in hand, you don't know what you're missing, which is either a blessing or a curse. It's a deep, dark rabbit hole to go down, I can assure you.
Good
But
news is I just checked; they're all still available on
they're all still available. Okay, they're all. I mean, the whole wave is fantastic. But also,
ooh,
GI Joe. I want to say it right the way that the Super 7 Ultimates, GI Joe, Snake Eyes, and Timber, with this extremely elaborate box, which I'm just going to take him out of and look at that glare. Look at all that beautiful glare. It's hard to actually see. They've actually done a funny thing where, like, normally with Super 7, the sort of secondary tray is in the back. So when you get soft goods or all the extra stuff that's usually in the tray behind, they put Timber in the front tray and Snake Eyes in the back tray, and it makes it like really hard to see Snake Eyes in a weird way. Like when I was trying to take a picture of this to set up for an unboxing video, I just couldn't get a picture that I was happy with because it has to go through all these layers of plastic and stuff, and it's in the back, so you kind of have to light it from an angle where it can get in but not cause glare. I mean, look at all that plastic, all that glare. Like I said, you can't see it. Stay tuned for the unboxing where you can get a look at it not on that side of the plastic.
I love the palette choice.
First impressions, it looks absolutely great, like just beautiful, and it's that Sunbow Snake Eyes, which I know that not everybody loves, but he's sort of that blue indigo color with the ungloved hands. And Timber looks really, really good too. He looks oddly similar to the first classified Timber that we got. But anyway, really, really looking forward to opening that one up. Probably do that sometime this week. And then the last thing, this one's from Walmart because that's the only place you can get it. The GI Joe classified retro carded Snake Eyes, because one Snake Eyes this week was not enough. So
no, he looks awesome.
Yeah, I can't. I mean, I'm here for every version of Snake Eyes that they make, and I can't wait to get that one out of the package. It is, in my mind, an almost perfect representation of like the version 1 or the version 1.5, like the very first vintage figure version. And yeah, I'm just really looking forward to getting that one out of the box as well. I'll probably do that one this week too. But all right, so if that's all for pickups, we can move on. Sorry, Auston. Yeah, you still got yours. Okay, what do you got, Auston?
All right, I'll start with what I consider they're still exciting, but in comparison to the other ones, they're the least exciting. These are my GameStop pickups. I got my hands on Dr. Mindbender.
Nice.
Funny enough, pre-order came in. They never called me or told me. I just happened to be in the area, bought something, and I said, "This is my membership number." And they went, "Oh, we got a Dr. Mindbender for you." Cool.
I've heard a couple people say that.
That happened to me 2 weeks ago. Went in to pick up a game pre-order, and it's like, "Oh, we got a Joe here for you." Okay.
Oh, cool. This next one, strictly impulse. It was, I was in the season mood. I don't collect Fortnite figures, but this one was and like it's hard to see with that little bubble, but there's a full view of it, and just again.
You know what's crazy? Those Fortnite figures, I played Fortnite for a grand total of about 14 minutes when they introduced Snake Eyes, and I thought I could play as Snake Eyes, which I later found out was not going to be possible given that I'd never played and hadn't sort of built up the sort of buying power within the game and wasn't willing to pay. So I have no knowledge of any of those characters or any of that. But the actual action figure line,
they're good.
They look so fun. They're so cool.
Like I never thought I'd sit here and go, I really want a man cake figure.
What is that? The pancake-headed guy?
It is. Again, like I know nothing about Fortnite,
guy,
but I saw that character.
And the cat and the guy who's like a birch tree, like and it goes on and on and on, like of all these just absurd characters.
Is that a mecha chicken or something?
Probably. I mean, I don't. There's everything, and they just every wave there's like more, and I'm like, oh, they have more. There's still more stuff. Like there's still more weird characters based on
I'm sure they
animals
can
or
go on for a
plants or
while.
whatever. But even like some of their absurd characters, right? Like some of the soldier type ones are really, really nice too. It's just it has an aesthetic that doesn't quite fit with anything else that I have, and I'll be damned if I need another line to start collecting.
Yeah, fair enough.
Anyway, sorry to interrupt. What else have you got, Auston?
No worries. So this one was really exciting. These were found in an antique store.
Okay.
Ooh.
So I grew up with these. So these were like, I want to say 98, 99, maybe 2000. But Power of the Force figures. Got some Jawas and Clone Palpatine. Which I love that story arc in the comics. So I had to grab that one. And with the most recent hype, and still love the character, found the original Admiral Thrawn figure. Again, I grew up with these, so real soft spot. The real kicker was the antique store had them for 50% off.
Nice.
So they were, I bought them without feeling bad. And, they're going to stay in package forever. They're going to get a nice little bubble, go on the wall. The next one's though, oh boy, what have I done? So I grabbed original Return of the Jedi, Gamorrean Guard, and Klaatu, which is
vintage
guards.
Fantastic.
I'm not willing to say the price on stream.
I'm not willing to hear it either. So that's
but
fine.
Again, 50% off, so I felt a little less guilty.
A little less guilty.
A little less guilty. Absolutely incredible. So happy to have those, but it keeps going because I also got.
Oh, is that the 12-inch Chewbacca?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Awesome.
100% complete, bandolier, blaster, everything.
Wow.
Bit of a nasty glare on there, but
you're on a bit of a Star Wars kick then, hey? Were you watching the Celebration videos and you just got a little bit of that?
It was really just a matter of timing. The Celebration videos, and when you find these antique figures in an antique store for 50% off, and you're like, okay, yeah, I got to do it.
Yep.
They're definitely going to go in the glass cabinet. These are so excited for these ones. But to round it all off, again, glass cabinet worthy. The new Hot Toys Mandalorian and Grogu.
Yeah. Nice.
Deluxe version. So it has like bunch of gear from season 2. Darksaber, Beskar spear, and that's probably going to be like the centerpiece to my collection. I already have the Hot Toys Bo-Katan and Boba Fett. I feel I could stop there. I should stop there,
but you didn't.
But that's the last one for today.
Oh, okay.
But now I'm like, I can get this Mandalorian and this character and this character from the Mandalorian.
I was going to do that with Black Series
right now.
I started my Black Series stuff, and it was supposed to be just Mando characters, and I think I ordered 2 non-Mando after having a bunch, and I gave up. I tapped out. I ended up selling them all and walking away. I was like, no, I can't do this. Can't do this to myself.
So I went with Black Series. I went Mandalorian as well, and then and then I got a couple Luke Skywalkers, and I was like, okay, well, I'll get Luke Skywalker versions of Luke Skywalker and Mandalorian characters, which wasn't so bad. And then when they did some of the Return of the Jedi figures a couple years ago, they did like the Endor outfits of Luke, Leia, and Han.
Yeah.
And then they did, was it Poplu that they released, or Tebow, one or the other that they released in that wave. And I was like, that's weird, man. Like, why would they do Wicket? Everybody's gonna want Wicket. I said, if they do Wicket, then I'll get into Black Series Endor. So it has to occur on Endor. but they didn't do Wicket, and I kept waiting, it didn't come. But then when they revealed it was at PulseCon, I was like, well, I guess I'm doing Ewoks now. So I've got the two of them on, the two that are coming up on pre-order, and then I'll probably end up picking those Endor figures up. And then by default, you know, I got to get a Chewie and a R2 and a C3PO and so on and so forth.
And then you're collecting the line.
And then you're like, well, that's all for Endor. I guess I'll do Cloud City, and then I'll do, you know, whatever.
Got to get the Arctic ones. Got to get the Hoth troopers. Right?
Yeah, the Hoth stuff never. It's cool, but it doesn't grab me in the same way that like the Cloud City. Like Cloud City is like my second favorite Star Wars sort of location within the original trilogy, which is a very specific sort of, you know, thing. But
what's your favorite Star Wars biome?
Yeah, exactly. I like a bunch of them, but yeah, Endor is absolutely my favorite, and then Cloud City, largely because the Return of the Jedi is my favorite of the movies.
Same.
But then that lightsaber battle between Luke and Darth Vader in Empire is, it's kind of a tie for the Return of the Jedi lightsaber battle for me. I was actually on a video with Brick Something last night, talking about Star Wars, and we were talking about how some of the new stuff coming up is going to sort of, I think, feel a little bit more like the original trilogy in terms of, you know, having Jedi and lightsabers and stuff like that, which I don't, I'm not complaining that hasn't been around for the last few kind of versions of Star Wars. You know, it wasn't in Andor and Rogue One. That's clearly sort of a different part of the galaxy. Mandalorian has the dark saber, but doesn't feel like a lightsaber.
Yeah.
You know, it feels more symbolic than you know, a sword in and of itself.
Yep.
But anyway.
Oh, sorry. One more thing I wanted to point out.
Oh,
I couldn't help but laugh. Original Toys R Us stickers on them too.
Nice. Does it have a price on there? What was the price for a 12-inch Star Wars figure from Toys R Us?
$8.96.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's still pretty expensive at the time, right?
Oh, like, absolutely. And like, I mean, it's actually 15 inches, so it's even a little bigger. I don't know if it was a 15-inch scale or it was just 15 inches because it was Chewy.
Probably because it was Chewy, yeah.
I was all in on those Power of the Force figures, man. That Star Wars kind of comeback pre-special editions. I was all in.
I had tons of that stuff.
Sticker on this one too, $1.75.
There you go.
Heyo. Was it a little bit more than that to buy now?
A little bit.
So let's get into a little bit of toy news here. First one that I wanted to bring up was, in fact, Star Wars. This is from the Geek Dad Life website, which is where I'm sort of stealing the news from, some of it today. Here comes Chrysanthemum. Black Chrysanthemum gets a re-release randomly on like a Tuesday. I brought this up because we just got a Black Chrysanthemum, or I think it was referred to as Black Chrysanthemum. This is Chrysanthemum. It was pointed out that they in sort of Book of Boba Fett, they never call him Black Chrysanthemum. He just is Chrysanthemum, and he happens to be black. So Chrysanthemum gets a release. The reason that I brought this up is it's not because I want this figure at all. It's because, why do they keep doing one figure at a time? Like, Star Wars seems to be the only brand in the Hasbro stable where we get one release, and then a week later we get like one release, and it's like, okay, this one's at GameStop, and this one's at Walmart, and this one, like, they're just all over the place. But then, you know, we get, and I'll pull this up as well. I think this is the one that I want. Then we get Star Wars Celebration a couple days later, and I had sort of pulled the Chrysanthemum thing to talk about. My computer is being incredibly slow, which is why you're just staring at that screen of multiple news stories. Um,
I'm
but
hyped for Stanton. I'm that's an instant buy for me. I'm actually probably going to pre-order it. I'm
mhm.
trying not to pre-order Hasbro stuff because for the most part, it seems even when pre-orders sell out, stores still get them no problem. But
And then
Chrysanthemum for
discount them.
me is one of those ones where like I don't want to risk it. So I'll probably
Mhm.
talk to Mike and get one pre-ordered.
It looks great. I mean,
It's so good.
that version looks really good. I mean, the last version that they did was just Chewbacca with a different thing on, like a different harness, and seemingly like zero paint apps too. And people were not into it. Not surprisingly, there's always going to be people that are like, "Well, no, this is a different version, so it's
This
not
is
the
the
one
comic
from
book
the
version or
show,
whatever.
so whatever." And it's like, okay, well, that's fine, but it's not Chewbacca.
Yeah.
He's a different character. It shouldn't be Chewbacca. It should be something different. Um, but then we kind of got banged over the head with a whole bunch of stuff from uh, the Star Wars Celebration. Personally, I wasn't paying much attention to Star Wars Celebration. My kind of thing is that I don't bother with trailers or teasers or any of that stuff because I know that without a shadow of a doubt I'm gonna watch all the Star Wars stuff when it comes out anyway. And when it comes to canon, all canon is somebody's head canon. And if I watch a trailer or a teaser, and it's out of chronological order, and we will all do this without short of trying. We'll all create head canon and preconceived ideas of how something is going to go before it actually happens. And so I'm just trying to like not have that, right? I'm okay. Like I'm not, if somebody's like, "Oh, Jude Law is in this show," I'm like, "Oh, that's cool," because it doesn't make me think, okay, well, what are they going to do with Jude Law? Is it going to be Jude Law in this movie? Is it going to be Jude Law from this thing? Like, that's not how I work. But when I see the visuals, I have a tendency to kind of, oh, is it this planet? Are we going here? Is it this? Does it have a connection to this kind of thing? And I think that could be fun. And if that's how you do fandom, great. But for me, I want to go in fresh. I want to go in without expectations and just appreciate whatever is offered to me. I'm also a mark for that stuff because even if it's bad, I'll take it. Who knew that I would be reaping the rewards of watching Jedi Temple Challenge, a couple years after the fact. But they didn't announce a Keller and Beck Black Series figure, unfortunately. I was hoping they would. I still want one. But they did announce a bunch of stuff, and there's some good stuff in here. I don't normally talk a lot of Star Wars stuff because I don't collect a lot of Star Wars stuff. And I was about to sort of, and I sort of kicked this off with why are they doing one figure at a time and what the heck is going on? There's some good stuff in here, and I feel like they kind of, if they can keep this momentum going, and we know that there's a HasLab coming soon, if they don't completely botch that, maybe they're back on track. What do you guys think? Have you guys seen the reveals?
Yeah.
I am there. Obviously, like I'm usually pretty good with Star Wars in the sense that I can look at something and go, I don't need that. Oh, I want that, or I want to get that right away, or I want to get that on clearance. There's a lot of things here that I don't necessarily need. Like, for example, there was a new Luke Skywalker, which is I might get it, but I did just get the season 2 Mandalorian one, which is almost the same aesthetic. So like maybe I'll wait until it goes on
Is
sale.
it though?
But see, that's the thing. Some people are going to say it's different. I have to have it.
He's all in black, but they're not the same.
I know they're not the same, but I can resist. I don't need it.
He's got it's the robe, so it's like the crossover thing, and then he's got the more fabric boots.
The one for
on
me,
the screen right now, these were the two things I was probably the most excited for.
Mandalorian Starfighter, and then the what are they calling them? Jabba's court denizens.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for the aliens. I love, especially, I don't know why I like really getting them in vintage collection over Black Series. Maybe because they're cheaper, so I feel like I can justify getting more of them.
And they don't take up as much space.
Yeah, exactly. But they are, as a photographer, they are perfect for background characters. And 'cause I hate paying a lot of money for background characters. It sucks. I don't want to spend $30 for background characters, but a 4-pack that I might see go on sale, fantastic.
This thing looks great, but I mean, I'm not collecting in the 4-inch scale, and I'm not going to start with this.
For me, it's just a matter of where do I put it. I already got the Razor Crest taken up.
I was going to say, you put it right next to your Razor Crest, obviously.
Yeah, next to it. It's not like it's taken the whole shelf already.
Put some fishing line, hang it from the ceiling.
That's what I was thinking.
I heard a rumor that this is adaptable to fit the R5 unit in there as well, but I don't know if that was just somebody totally talking out their ass that didn't know what they were saying. And then there's a vintage collection chrysanthemum as well,
which I will also be getting.
You get both scales?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Steve, was there anything in here that kind of,
one that kind of enraged me a little bit? I'm not gonna lie.
Enraged? Go on.
I'm not one of these guys who complained about the special editions and got involved in the whole hand shot first and all that nonsense.
Wait. I already know what you're going to talk about.
There you go. There it is.
Okay, go on, Steve.
Why is he there? Why?
Why did they pick this Anakin?
Yeah. Why Hayden Christensen in that scene? Why? Like, it's egregious. It makes no sense whatsoever. It was just Lucas doing a little trick edit on the Blu-ray release to tie it into episode 2. Don't give me the bullshit about he became one with the Force before he turned or whatever. Like, no, it's stupid. Put Sebastian Stan in there or don't release it.
Or put Vader, right?
Yeah.
Like the original did. Like, why can't we get that one? I agree with you. This was the one thing where I was like, yeah, I need that. The Force Ghost stuff just gets me. Like, also, this occurred on Endor, so I'm not breaking my own rules.
There you go.
No, it's just that was the one thing that always bugged me, man, was replacing Sebastian Stan in that scene with Hayden Christensen always really got to me. And I don't hate Hayden. Hayden's great.
Yeah.
But, I hate that they did that. It was just so egregious. It was...
It feels odd to me because, if you're going to put Hayden, why are you not putting, like, why is that Obi-Wan the Obi-Wan?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like... It feels there's a disconnect, and like you said, it was kind of a thing that got shoehorned in just because the sequels or prequels, and they kind of decided they were going to change some things up and add more CGI stuff, which really still, when I watch the original trilogy, but the sort of current version, it's the current version.
Yep.
I still can't get over some of the CGI stuff. Like, even when they're heading into Mos Eisley and they've added that whole scene that's just basically all CGI, and it just doesn't feel the same.
Nope. I mean, the first act of that movie is slow enough already. You don't need to slow it down anymore. And I mean, that's not
don't add 12 seconds of CGI.
One thing I feel they should have done, and it would have saved that pack easily. Like, everyone would have loved it. It's not beyond Hasbro and Black Series and Vintage Collection to offer alternate heads, like they have done it.
Yep.
And they literally just a head, right? It could be the exact same figure otherwise, but have one be Hayden, one be Sebastian. Boom, you please all the fandoms.
Would have been perfect.
And they come carded in a box. I'm like, that's a whole lot of cardboard that I don't need in my life. But that's okay. So the R2 apparently is a better version of R2 than we've ever had. I still don't have an R2, so he's going to be my Endor R2. This, I have the Empire Strikes Back Bespin Vader, but his helmet doesn't come off.
That looks pretty awesome.
The fact that his helmet comes off, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
That's kind of the kicker for me. I feel like I'm going to end up with that. And then this Return of the Jedi version of Luke, it piqued my interest for a couple reasons.
He's my favorite.
It appears to be a new likeness.
Yeah.
A better one than we've had so far. This is, I believe, the first time we've gotten like a full-on Return of the Jedi accurate Luke, because they did that Walmart exclusive Jedi Knight one had 2 bare hands, and I think he was supposed to have a glove. I don't get into these nitpicky things, but a lot of people do. But I also think that this is the first one that we've seen with the sort of flap open, sort of post battle. Then he comes down to Endor with that outfit on. I'll point that out as well. It's still not breaking a rule. And he also brings Vader down with him. So also not breaking my own rules. I can buy almost all the ones that I want, and I'm still not breaking my rule. But I really like this figure. And it's I hate that I like this figure, but it is what it is. The Bad Batch stuff doesn't do much for me. The Bad Batch is okay. I'm enjoying it, but I don't need the figures. And then the vintage stuff, I'm okay not having the vintage stuff. The Cad Bane Black Series is technically a Mandalorian figure, so I could get it if I wanted to. I'm not as big a Cad Bane as a lot of people are.
I'm really annoyed with the Royal Guard because I think it's the exact same mold they've been using every single time. So,
I don't know if it is or not, but I mean,
yeah, I can pass on it.
Yeah, this Black Series Jabba looks pretty cool, and I think because it's Return of the Jedi, I think this is a good indicator that we're probably going to get more of this stuff. You know, they're doing you're getting that vintage multi-alien pack. I can't help but think that this is that we're going to see a lot more of this stuff. There's the box.
Cool. That's awesome.
It's a great box. I mean, that's with a lot of this stuff where they're doing like the really vintage inspired packaging. I think it really lands.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you just showed your vintage carded figures, and I was like, oh, are those like the retro carded ones, or what's the? Because they look the same, right? Yeah. I mean, because at this distance, I can't see how many points of articulation there is in that figure. But you know, these packages really do a good job, at least to me and for me, of sort of selling me on the sort of nostalgic feels a little bit too. But yeah, that was the Star Wars news. I realized that we've completely neglected to check in with the chat. I meant to do that after pickups, but we'll jump in because
we just got so excited.
The messages keep coming in, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's a good point. Oh yeah, okay, cool. Toy samples. Paint's Toy Samples is here. It says, wait, I'm not first. There was a comment on there before that's disappeared, but yeah, Toy Domination was first, but to be fair, he put his comment in like yesterday, I think, when Brick Something is hanging out, saying hello to everybody in the chat. Brick says, Mythic Legions is not a deep, dark rabbit hole. It is, in fact, a robust, bright bunny hovel of glorious chocolate-filled eggs, hand-painted in glorious colors. I wouldn't disagree as somebody that had to basically reorganize my whole collection to accommodate the fact that they multiply like rabbits, too. I went from sort of, I'll grab a couple, to I had to clear my whole like sidebar and build a diorama to sort of put them on there, which is why I only have one shelf here, because I have like just overflow. This shelf may even migrate over there if I can kind of work out some more details, but
I can't hear this.
Look, I say this to everybody. If you want to get into them, grab a figure and you'll absolutely fall in love with it. If you don't want to get 10 or 12 or 30 of them, don't get the first one. Fair warning, you know, if you get one, you will get more.
I'm holding out hope that Hasbro is going to do 6-inch Willow at some point.
Oh, that would be good.
Yeah.
But to be fair, Willow would be like 4 inches.
Yeah.
Anyway. AI Collectibles said that retro Snake Eyes is damn near perfect. I agree in terms of being damn near perfect to the like original vintage version.
Yeah, isn't that
That
Snake
version
Eyes?
wasn't my favorite version though. So
Isn't that Snake Eyes just the same one that came with Timber and the first Snake Eyes Timber? It's not. Oh
Some
god.
different deco.
it's totally different.
Oh boy, now I gotta look for it.
Yep.
Stay tuned to the channel, hit that notification button, and I will compare it to all the figures that it's sort of pulled parts from and compare it to most of the other versions of Snake Eyes. I could compare it to all of them because I have all of them, but I will save people the boredom of me pulling out like 37 versions of Snake Eyes. AI also said, it's, in terms of Fortnite, great game. I have the Man Cake figure, and he's my default skin in the game.
Man Cake.
Brick said, Chewie was one of my favorites as a kid. Just learned this year that he was a reuse of the $1 Million Man Bigfoot mold. Did you know that, Austin?
Huh.
That's new.
I was today years old when I learned that. Yer says, Quip. Allison Troy is here. She was also on Brick's video last night. We had a really good time just shooting the shit, talking about Star Wars. It was a lot of fun. You guys should definitely check that out. Tyler said the Force Ghost 3-pack is not for us 40-year-olds. It's for those kids who were 10 in 1999. They got Hayden and not Sebastian, so I can't be angry at the Force Ghost 3-pack.
I can.
Yeah.
I'll say
He
that.
didn't change it for the special edition. That's my problem. It was changed for the Blu-ray.
I was 5 in 1999, and I'm still annoyed at this 3-pack.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm still annoyed with Hayden Christensen, but I mean, I didn't think he was great. I don't think, whatever, doesn't matter. Star Wars has always been about very wooden, bad acting, at least when George Lucas directs it.
The classic Harrison Ford quote, "You can type this shit, George, but we can't say it."
Exactly. What's the faster and more intense? Isn't that what was that?
Faster
was
with more intensity.
Like, well, how do you want us to do it different? Faster and more intense. And they're like, that's not. All right, moving on to the next piece of news, and Austin. This one is for you and I, Steve. I'm kind of curious how you think or how you feel about this. We are getting re-releases of the SH Figure Arts Dragon Ball Latent Power Trunks and Bardock. Trunks is a repaint. He is a more vibrant blue, a brighter blue, to match the Vegeta that is on the way. And then Bardock appears to be just a straight repaint or a straight re-release. Sorry. Austin, you got out of the SH Figure Arts Dragon Ball stuff. Some of the price points brought you back in. Trunks fits that bill.
Yep.
What say you about Trunks?
So I've pre-ordered already through.
Okay.
So it's that magic number, $35 American. I'm comfortable paying.
Yep.
Luckily, I'm a huge Bardock fan. When I sold off my collection, I actually kept my Bardock, so
okay.
Don't have to worry about this one. I think it was actually you. I sold you my Super Saiyan Goku.
Yes.
And I was actually kind of regretting it, going, well, now I'm going to get Super Saiyan Vegeta, and there's the Super Saiyan Trunks. Well, Tyler's coming back from Seattle today, and guess what he found at Walmart?
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, you could get that figure for not much, because it's everywhere, and it's one of those like price point figures that they're doing. I love that
he found Goku. I'm like, I'll get it.
I want that one to get a repaint too, because his pants, the like weird brownness of his pants. Anyway, that's when that gets repainted and re-released in the like version 4 articulation. We'll talk about that too, but we're not talking about that. Steve, Dragon Ball.
No, never was.
No
frame of reference, but man, I gotta say those figures look fantastic. They look really nice.
It's definitely one of those ones where, like, if the IP isn't something that you're passionate about, you're probably never gonna pick them up. But SH Figure Arts in general, the articulation and just like the quality of the figures is phenomenal. They're a ton of fun to pose and play with. You get a bunch of extra hands, extra heads, extra faces. My only complaint is that this Trunks doesn't come with the sort of non-Super Saiyan powered up head. The original version came with the sort of standard powered down. Everybody that sort of knows anything about figure arts is sort of saying like, well, it'll probably, that head will get released with another figure, and then you'll have to buy, a figure that you were kind of on the fence about. So be it. I'll probably buy it because Trunks is probably my favorite Dragon Ball character. Bring on every version of him. I'll take it. I don't think we're in real danger of having too many versions of Trunks. So.
Even though it's lacking that head, I mean, like the price point.
Oh yeah.
Buys it. Like if they threw it in, it'd probably be more like $50 American, which still wouldn't.
100%. And I'm kind of looking at it too. Like you only get one figure, so to have two heads, like how are you gonna put it on your shelf? Are you gonna buy two so that you can have both heads on display? I kind of go back and forth. I have the older version of Trunks, and then they've got the new one coming out. The new one will get the Super Saiyan head, and the old one will keep the sort of purple hair, blue, violet, lilac, whatever kind of color you want to call it. So if I have multiples of a character just by default, I'll typically do the different heads. But I wouldn't be buying two of these Trunks anyway, so he's gonna keep that Super Saiyan, powered up head. If we get the spare one with a figure that I'm going to buy, great. But, we'll see. We'll see whether I, get that head or not. Although I do like that one because it's the one where the front of his hair is down and then the rest is sort of in a ponytail. I just always thought that was a cool look.
Yeah.
But whatever.
How rugged are these figures?
Kind of a sucker for all this stuff.
How playable are those figures? Like, are they more collector pieces or are they like kind of durable? Yeah,
they're pretty good.
Yeah,
nice.
It's the same as anything with the removable hand. Sometimes the pins are pretty small, so you can break them if you're not careful. So you do hear about like ankles and wrists breaking, but you hear that with any line. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't think it's an issue where like the line isn't durable enough for play. I think it's very much designed to be posed and played with and so on and so forth.
Cool.
And every once in a while, one of them will break. But I've never really had an issue or really had a concern that I was going to break a figure by playing with it.
Gotcha. Yeah, they look super cool. Like the posability looks awesome. I mean, it's not, I got no frame of reference for Dragon Ball. I'm a weeb, but I was just never into Dragon Ball, so. Yeah. But yeah, they look awesome. They look like really cool figures. I'm glad fans of the IP are getting good shit, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The only other sort of point of like actual news is also Hasbro related. So going back to Hasbro, they have kind of backtracked on windowless packaging, on plastic-free packaging. So they've essentially said that collectors style toys, basically 6-inch scaled and like, Star Wars vintage. So Star Wars vintage collection, Black Series, G.I. Joe Classified, Marvel Legends, all that kind of stuff. They're going back to windowed, displayable boxes, basically. Now, will it just be straight back to what they had when they were doing plastic? Will it be sort of an update of what they're doing currently? We don't know. We haven't seen the packaging. My frustration with this is that like for Classified, we got like 50 figures in that virtually identical packaging. Like it's the same packaging style, right? It's different art, but the packaging is the same. It was unified. Then they went windowless, and it was the proportions of the box kind of shrank, and it wasn't quite the same box, and it had the full art on the front. Then with this last wave, they've announced that sort of black box with the sort of like a rendered art on the cover that sort of looks like the figure. I love the original packaging that they did. The windowless kind of quick run of the full art on the front, I was okay with. The black packaging, I think it looks pretty good. Haven't had it in hand yet. Don't know if the box is the same size or if they changed it again. I just want them to pick one and just leave it alone. That's my complaint. All my toys come out of the box anyway, so it's not like I really care at the end of the day. But in terms of like, you can't see it, but all my classified boxes are like on the top shelf, like right up against the ceiling almost. I keep having to adjust the height of shelves to sort of accommodate packaging. I just want the things to like line up and just fit on the shelf properly.
Unified look.
Yes, just make it easy for me to collect cardboard boxes. What do you guys think? Does that sort of affect how you would buy anything? Is that like no? I think I mean that's most of the people that I know open everything, and most just bin it. You know, they're just recycling the cardboard anyway. So
I still have all the packaging there, but it's. I feel bad for the inbox collectors. I feel bad for the guys who want to have like a nice display,
all the
packages and stuff, And I mean, no, that's not my style, but I still, it kind of sucks for them.
And for me, it's like, just like you said in the past, Adam, like we order most of our stuff online anyway, so like we're not going to be inspecting all the figures on a peg to find the best looking one. And at first, I was very much against the windowless packaging for just in case the odd thing I want to keep in package, which is rare. But after I started getting more and more figures with the windowless packaging, my recycling was cut in half because you can actually break down the boxes very nicely and slide them in.
That's true because it's all cardboard. You don't have plastic bubbles and things like that. Yeah, that's a good point. Is that from a recycling standpoint? Like, okay, say what you want about like the virtue signaling aspect of the fact that they went plastic free. It cost them more to do that. Than to just keep the plastic. But the environmental impact, for whatever reason that they decided to do it, which I genuinely don't think was this altruistic, idea. I think it was, look, they were sort of pandering to a market, but then it backfired with a certain smaller market. They're going to continue to do it for most of their products. I mean, this is a drop in the bucket for them. It's not really going to change much, and they're using like a recycled plastic or whatever. I don't know. It doesn't matter to me. I don't care. Like I said, it's going on a shelf. I'm not recycling it anyway. So what's the big deal? Anyway, that was really all the news that we had.
Can I throw a quick one at you?
No. No, go ahead, Steve. What is it?
Have you guys been following this Indiana Jones adventure series at all?
A little bit.
The figures?
Yeah.
I wasn't because Indiana Jones doesn't. Indiana Jones is like an IP that I enjoy, but I never thought of it as like an IP that I wanted toys from. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't really. It wasn't like, oh, I want this version of Indiana Jones, and I want this one. Oh, and I want the school teacher Indiana Jones, and I want like, there's like 41 Indiana Jones figures that they've revealed. I think most people are like, I'll buy one, maybe two, but I don't need. Like, I'm not a big enough fan of the IP that I know. Like, to look at 3 of them in a lineup, I couldn't tell you which movie they're from. You know what I mean? Yeah. So if I was going to get them, I'd get one. Now, that being said, let me see if I can find it, actually. There is a few that I'm interested in, but go ahead. What were you going to...
I mean, you kind of touched on what I wanted to say with it. Like, I'm an Indiana Jones super freak. Like, Indiana Jones growing up was my Star Wars, right? That was where my heart lied. Super excited when they first announced that they were doing like a Black Series G.I. Joe classified scale Indiana Jones line, and the figures look like the Indy, the Raiders Indy, and the Temple of Doom Indy look fantastic, but just the nature of the line, I've never seen an action figure line that was just all men in suits.
Yes.
Everything is just guys in suits, and I'm just like, should you have even bothered, Hasbro? Like, this line is not going to set the pegs at Walmart on fire or anything. And they won't do any Nazi characters, which is, 2/3 of the villains. So
Yeah.
Why even bother in the first place? You know, like if you can't really within the politics of the company do justice, I guess, to the property, why dive in the first place? You know, like, and I mean they're great looking figures, but where's the appeal? You know, I just there you
They're
go, men in suits 2-pack.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
why I pulled that one up specifically, because as soon as you said it, I was like, oh, I know this. So this was revealed at Celebration, I think.
Yep.
Because Celebration sort of extends to like Lucasfilm and stuff.
And they've got they already have their first reuse with the Temple Escape Indy.
Now this one interests me because I think, you know, I get an Indiana Jones figure. I get the little, you know,
Fertility
pedestal with the little. So I'm getting cool accessories as well,
Yep.
which I'm sort of. That's what'll draw me in with these. If I'm perfectly honest, is like this thing too. I don't even know if this comes with some other figure or where. How you get this?
That's the build an artifact for the second wave.
Oh shoot. Okay, well I'm not getting that. I would consider getting short round.
Oh heck yeah.
Because man, what a lovable character for one. But also, like, what other line is going to give you this action figure? You know what I mean? So, like, this guy can kind of slot in to another collection. I think for me, like, it doesn't have to be an Indiana Jones collection. So that those are the two where I'm kind of like, I mean, I could see myself at some point grabbing a couple of these. But yeah, like just looking at this wave, you get four Indiana Joneses.
Yep.
And I just don't. I mean, Are
the one on the far left looks fantastic.
Raiders, Temple, and then the new movie.
So the first one, the very end is Temple, the two Temple of Doom, and then on the other side, I think you've got the new movie, Raiders, and then the new movie. Yeah.
So the one with the monkey is Raiders?
Yeah, that's Raiders. They're calling them Cairo Indy.
Oh, okay. I thought the monkey was from Temple, but no, they ate a monkey in Temple. That's different. Now, if that accessory comes out and the snake, if they could do the snake and the monkey, I would definitely buy those. That would be a great playset, wouldn't it? The dinner table with the
dinner scene.
You know, the table would sell well. Like lots of photographers, lots of the displays. People go, "Oh my god, a 6-inch scale table! I'm in."
Yeah, right. I feel like more than most lines, this one needs the play sets.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because like, you know, Indy without a pit of snakes or without a, you know, whatever, like I said, that pedestal or whatever, these figures are just, they're the same figure over and over and over again.
I wonder
what else can you do with it, right? Like it's just such a weird. I almost think I would have rathered if they had kind of focused it as a premium collector line. I mean, do the same thing, do Black Series or whatever, but do it as a premium collector line. Go through fan channels, through Pulse or whatever. Do a few of the Nazi villains, like, you know, just really drill it down into the adult collector market instead of trying to do this mass retail thing that they're doing with it. And it doesn't feel like it doesn't suit Indiana Jones at all.
I think it has potential for a really cool HasLab.
Maybe the Well of Souls or something.
Something.
Yeah. I mean, you like realistically, right? Pick any one of the sort of major sets.
Yeah.
Like I mean, like movie sets, not like. You know, you could have the ball that rolls down. You could have the Temple of Doom, right? Yep. You could have the whole sort of sacrifice thing. I'm pretty sure they won't do that one.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. They've been wishy-washy on Molaram, so I don't know.
Yeah.
He's such a cool villain. He needs a figure.
Look, if they're not doing Nazis, they're not doing him.
No.
Yeah.
No.
It's rough when you have all the like main bad guys in there. They're not going to make them. It's like making.
You have all of the indies.
Yeah.
With no one to go up against.
Yeah. It's like the G.I. Joe line that we can't do Cobra Commander.
That was the whole
That's the
thing, right?
point.
Like it is. Yeah, it is, right? Like it's like basically having classified, but you can't do any Cobra figures. You could do like the Trooper and like the Red Ninja, and that's all you get. But you get every, you get every
We're
version of
for
Snake
terrorism.
Eyes,
We can't do
and
these
then you
figures.
get yeah.
You can have 4 roadblocks and 17 Snake Eyes.
And one
I'll take the
Trooper. That's
17 Snake Eyes
already.
and 4 roadblocks, though. Seriously, I will. Sorry, Hasbro, don't be mad.
That was pretty much it as far as toy news goes. Like you said, sort of right at the beginning, and like we said, we were going to get a little bit into a topic. The topic was playing with your toys, and I specifically reached out to these two guys because I know, Auston, you're into Warhammer.
Yep.
Steve, you're into just about any tabletop game that comes up. You will play it. You will try it, even if it's terrible. I've seen your game shelf, and I know how hard you go on that stuff. For most of us, we collect action figures, but we don't play with them in the way that we did when we were kids. And so I just wanted to sort of talk about like, and we'll start with this. Auston, when can you remember? You're the youngest, so this should be like more readily available memory. Even memory gets a little bit. Can you remember when you stopped playing with your toys?
I couldn't give you an exact year or anything, but I'm pretty sure it would have been in like the middle school years. So I want to say probably like maybe grade 6, grade 7. And it wasn't even necessarily because I grew out of it. It's because people I knew grew out of it, and suddenly it was considered a bit more weird to be playing with your toys. It was weird to play with your toys. It was weird to play to believe in Santa Claus and so on and so on. So I kind of just followed the crowd.
Sure.
But I was still collecting toys. But I think that's when I kind of made the shift from collecting to play with to collecting for the sake of collecting.
Yeah.
And even then, I was still a kid, so it's not like I can do what I do now and spend a questionable amount of money on toys. It was still get my weekly allowance, and maybe I get food with my friends, or maybe I buy a Marvel Legends figure at Superstore.
Steve, what about you? Can you? Was there a point where you remember like it just wasn't about playing with them anymore?
Yep, definitely late, very, very late 80s, like 89 or 90, and probably around 90, the Kenner Batman figures. So post, Tim Burton, Michael Keaton Batman in 89. Had a few of the Toy Biz figures, and then the Kenner ones came out, and I started buying those, and the Kenner figures were so much nicer than the Toy Biz figures. And it's just, for whatever reason, it got to be, I was buying figures, and instead of setting up an evil fortress or anything like this, it was just standing up on a desk, and kind of leaving them on the desk. And that was how it started. I started working in a comic book shop when I was 15, and they started bringing in the Toy Biz X-Men stuff. So like the Jim Lee, Rob Liefeld, X-Men stuff, X-Force and all of that. And I bought everything. And, I'd open it all up, and I'd have it all spread over the floor in my room, like to look at it. And then I'd put it up on a bookshelf. So, I mean, I think for the better part of 10 years, even after I moved out of the house, my room was still downstairs intact kind of thing. And there was a bookshelf full of Toy Biz X-Men stuff, But every time I'd go into Mom and Dad's, it would be go downstairs and check out the shelf. And it was all actually Power of the Force, Star Wars, and X-Men. Nice. But that was right around, I was still buying G.I. Joe, but the Joe stuff was kind of, it would get opened and then it would get tossed in a bin,
Right.
That kind of thing. But, yeah, there was always a little bit of a collector, even when I was young, because Mom encouraged it so much. She carried a checklist around in her purse, and whenever I'd buy new Joe stuff or new Transformer stuff, she'd check it off. So she always kind of encouraged collecting. So that element was always incredible. There. What's that?
That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it was wild. She also sat me down and made me do my income tax the first time I got a job. So But
that's a good balance. That's a good balance.
Yep. But yeah, that was always
you can
there,
afford it. You can.
My family would be like, it's not heroin. Right? There you go. Have fun with your toys, kid.
Yeah, but that was around right around. So I'd say probably around the same age as Auston. Probably like that, like 10 to 12 thereabouts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's kind of exactly the same for me. Like, I was sort of looking at, I looked at it the same way, Steve. Like, what was the last toy that I remember kind of playing with? And for me, it was GI Joe, and I was buying GI Joe right up to '94, which is kind of when it, went into hibernation for a little bit. And the same thing, when I got into, for me, I got into Power of the Force. I got into some of those Playmates Star Trek figures.
Oh yeah.
And then I, some of the McFarlane stuff, the early McFarlane stuff. So I was still buying toys, but I certainly wasn't playing with them anymore.
Well, you couldn't play with the McFarlane stuff.
No, you couldn't.
It either wouldn't move or it would break.
They were, and they still are, those vintage ones, just statues that had some articulation. The sculpts were fantastic, but the playability, not so much.
No.
But it's odd. I just thought that it was odd that we're still buying these items that represent a time when we played, and yet we don't play with them for the most part, right? I'm lucky enough that I kind of got back into it because of children, because of I was having children, and my kids are kind of into it, and I can play with toys with them. My brain doesn't work that way anymore, and part of the reason I asked that question is because I had a conversation with Jason from Spiro Toys, Animal Warriors of the Kingdom, and we're actually having a conversation about like the moment that we remember. Like, for him, he had a very specific story of like, this is the last time, or sorry, it was like the first time that he sort of got his toys out and was like, I don't know what to do with these anymore. and it was weird because like we got into the discussion, and we were talking about, do we, as we mature, sort of grow out of the necessity to like play out the story because we can just imagine it, right? Mm-hmm. Steve, I know you're a writer. Jason is also a writer. And so that was sort of the idea that we sort of agreed on, whether it's right or wrong, who knows, that we kind of get to a point where like we can internalize all that creativity and we don't have to use external cues anymore. But maybe that's where the change happens, right? Maybe we don't need the cues, and so we kind of lose touch with that. It's weird. Like, it's such a, we're getting a bit philosophical and a little bit sort of ephemeral here, but
no, I think it's awesome.
But it's fascinating, and part, again, like I said, part of the reason that this is all sort of coming about is that I was on Toy Domination's show this past week, and he's kind of coming up with a version of a tabletop game that can be played with any figures. That's right here. So he creates these little cards. I had an agility fighter because he said, "Who's your favorite X-Men character?" I said, "Nightcrawler." He goes, "Okay, I'll create a character profile that, agility fighter could just as easily be Snake Eyes, right? Or Storm Shadow, or whoever's going to sort of drop in, strike, get out, just like Nightcrawler does, right?" And it was a lot of, we just played sort of a really quick round that he kind of set up so that it was going to be 15, 20 minutes, but it was really fun. And you guys both know this because I've sort of banged you over the head with it, but Animal Warriors of the Kingdom, Jeremy's in the chat, authority figure coming out with a tabletop game for Animal Warriors of the Kingdom. I couldn't be more excited because even if I need a framework to play with my toys, it just feels so refreshing. Like, it's weird that it's refreshing to sort of be able to play with my toys and that I need some guidance. But I'm really excited about it. You guys are already playing tabletop games. What do you think when you sort of think of the idea? You're also action figure collectors. Does the idea of using your action figures in a tabletop game appeal to you? Is it sort of like, I'll stay with the miniatures or whatever? Have your say. Who wants to go first?
I'll go. I can understand the appeal. For me, I don't. For me personally, it's not necessary because
Okay.
I already do stuff with my toys. Like I do the toy
True.
photography thing.
Yes.
If they just sat on the shelf and never did any, like I never did anything with them ever, I might be a bit more like, sweet, I can actually use these for something
Mm-hmm.
now. But
Mm-hmm.
I have the Warhammer miniatures to
Mm-hmm.
fulfill that tabletop role. I got the toys to fill a different role, so I don't
Sure.
feel the need to kind of blend worlds or collide worlds, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I can understand why people like that idea because again, like there's a lot of people that just buy toys and put them on the shelf, and that's where they sit for the rest of their lives.
Yep.
So the fact you can get more use out of them is
Sure.
fun.
Yeah, and I mean, you touch on a good point. As a toy photographer, you're already, and you're not banging them together like we may have done when we were 5 years old or whatever. But you're posing them, and there's a scenario, and you're sort of acting out.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm still telling a story.
Yeah, absolutely. So in some ways you haven't sort of moved away from it as much as some of us have.
Mm-hmm.
Steve, where are you at?
Much the same. Like my thing with it is, I've never really grown out of that idea of creating a scenario or creating, a fiction in my head. Even now, like I'm my classified shelf is behind me, my work computer is in front of me. So every now and again, I'll whip around, I'll grab a figure off the shelf and I'll just start posing them. And then I was like, oh,
Right.
this guy'd go cool with this, and I'll grab him and I'll bring him over. And it's like, I should be working right now, that sort of mentality I don't think has ever really left.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, the tabletop side of it, tabletop games, I think for me really filled that void, especially getting into like stuff like Shadowrun and Dungeons and Dragons is, that really kind of, myself and all my buddies went from, in our backyard digging holes in the ground and building fortresses out of sod for GI Joe figures. We went from that to rolling dice around the table and playing a pen and paper RPG. So I mean, that never really went away. I don't think the idea of creating scenarios and stuff never really died. So I mean, I feel a bit different about it that way. In terms of using your figures in a game, I think it's an awesome idea. My biggest thing is I can't stand the idea of proxies. So like if I'm, if I'm playing Warhammer, I'd be using Warhammer miniatures. I wouldn't be using another unit to represent something else or vice versa. And like there's a tabletop game out there called Unmatched, done by Restoration Games. And what it is they have, some licensed characters, some, public domain stuff. So you can have a scenario where you have Sherlock Holmes fighting raptors from Jurassic Park and stuff. And like that stuff doesn't appeal to me at all. Like that stuff is just like, I can't wrap my head around that because it's not within a specific sandbox, so I can't. And I think that would be my biggest thing. Like, I mean, if there's a board game based around an action or a tabletop strategy game or whatever based around an action figure line, I'd have to have those figures to play that game,
Right.
Yeah.
So for example, the Animal Warriors of the Kingdom game would appeal to you more than the sort of non-branded version.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless they did their own, thing. And I mean, I'm not talking full-fledged action figures, but if they did, custom characters on cardboard standees, even is enough for me. Like to me, that the fiction and all of that kind of stuff is, and maybe that's the writer brain in me, but that's so much of a part of, piecing together my scenarios is having these toys to play with, having these rules to kind of,
Sure. Yeah. I think. And he's welcome to correct me if he's watching. I think at least the Animal Warriors of the Kingdom game does come with cardboard, cutout figures. Yep. So if you didn't have the line of action figures, you wouldn't not be able to play it. You just wouldn't, when you do an action, and like for example, like Thane, the big gorilla character, has the ability to like throw objects, right? So you wouldn't be able to sort of physically represent that on the board.
Yeah.
You would just mimic it, I guess, with the cardboard cutouts more so than with physical objects. I'm in a position where like it gives me the opportunity to have a framework for my kids to sort of play with the toys. And I think, if I'm being honest, we'll probably run the game pretty fast and loose when it's with the kids. Where it's like, can I do this move? And I'll be like, sure, if that's the way you imagine that move kind of happening. But I also really like the idea of, basically, for every move, kind of posing, taking a snapshot, take the next move, pose, do a snapshot. So you can almost like build the story. So
That's pretty cool, yeah.
So like this is kind of Steve your world and Auston your world, where like the whole you could almost do like an action, like a I don't know what they're called, but like an action figure sort of comic by way of the narrative of the game and how it plays out, kind of thing. For me, as a less creative version of both of you guys, this is sort of like the tools that I need to kind of get me in that space a little bit.
Yep.
So the idea, I agree with you, Steve, though, like the branded version for me just kind of works a little bit better. And that's more because, I'm also somebody that doesn't always mix my IPs. People that are sort of more willing to mix IPs, like Dom from Toy Domination, everything goes together. He doesn't care about most of the lore because he's writing his own lore for almost all of it anyway. So away you go in that respect from his perspective. But I anything that sort of, and whether that's photography, whether that's a tabletop game, whether that's I don't know what else, people do the sort of action figure comics as well. So but that's photography. So that falls into that. But anyway, you know what I mean? Anything that sort of makes that creative process sort of happen, I think is good. And I think it brings us closer to what we loved about toys, right? When we were kids. I think there's a lot of people that I'm not, I'm trying to like sugarcoat it. There's a lot of people that complain and sort of troll on the internet about toys. And I feel like if they just played with their toys, they wouldn't, they wouldn't have the time to be complaining on the internet about toys. And B, they would kind of fall back in love with their toys.
Find some joy in your life, man. Jeez,
Well, whatever. It is what it is. But so Jeremy said with the Animal Warriors of Kingdom game, we're including 2 Ravager and 2 Legionary standees for people who don't, or for who didn't army build. So you get 4. The game will come with a figure as well. So basically, you need like 1 more figure to effectively play the game, because it's kind of 3 versus 3. I suspect you could play 2 versus 2 anyway. You could probably sort of mod it to do it however you want. You could do like I did when I was like 5 years old, and you could probably paint, the characters on cardboard and cut them out yourself. Just do it that way.
Yep.
I'm not 5 anymore, so I don't have to do that. And I'm excited to be getting these figures. So I'm just, like I said, I'm just excited to sort of have some framework to play with my toys, which I'm probably going to apply to other lines as well, because my kids love playing with the X-Men figures. They love playing with the Ninja Turtle figures. I know that they're going to love the AWOC figures. So I'm just really, really excited to have the possibility, the opportunity to play with my toys. Anything else? You guys, so Auston, you do Warhammer. Do you do any other tabletop games or any other sort of?
I've played quite a few. There was this game called Guild Ball that I used to play a lot about, and it was basically teams of, I'd describe it as like old-timey, low fantasy guilds. So you have fishermen, alchemists, butchers, and they'd be basically, you throw them on a pitch and you build your teams, and you basically play hardcore soccer.
Like Blood Bowl.
Yeah, it was wild. It was a lot of fun, and each team had like the fishermen were known for their speed and their goal scoring, while the butchers were known for beating people up, and you got points based on doing one or the other.
Brand.
So I played that. There was a game a lot like Warhammer. People would argue it's not like Warhammer, but in terms of like setting and all that, it's like Warhammer. But it's War Machine and Hordes. There's other games I haven't played, but I've always kind of humored. Like, for example, like you were saying, using Nightcrawler in a tabletop setting. Well, there's a game where you can do that called Marvel Crisis Protocol, where it's Marvel miniatures. You build and paint your superheroes. There's a Star Wars version called Star Wars Legion. Same thing.
Yeah.
Build a Mandalorian, paint them up, etc., etc. And then, of course, when there's D&D and all that, where sometimes you use miniatures, some people don't use miniatures. I've always preferred using miniatures because I just like to paint them. But yeah, there's tons out there. So, like, again, not to knock the idea of using toys for tabletop gaming, because a lot of people will find that fun. I just have other things that fill that role.
Sure. Steve, what's your favorite tabletop game that you guys are rocking these days?
Oh man, that's a hard question.
Which one do you find you go back to the most?
I mean, we've played Dungeons and Dragons the most of anything, for sure. Like, I mean, D&D is something I started D&D, old first edition, well, not first edition, red box edition in 1986. So I've been at it a while. But yeah, we've gone back to that the most. Shadowrun was always fun. We spent a lot of time in Shadowrun, which was like it's Blade Runner meets D&D. It's futuristic cyberpunk setting, but it's magic and orcs and trolls and dwarves and stuff as well. It's great. It's a lot of fun. Played that a lot. That was most of our 90s, I think, was Shadowrun. But
yeah. When you say that was the 90s, that sounds like it would have been the 90s.
Oh yeah, leather trench coats and shotguns and
yes, yeah, neon lights.
Yeah, everybody with cybernetic body parts and stuff. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. Board game wise, probably there's one originally from Fantasy Flight called Twilight Imperium. It's in board game circles. It has a huge reputation because it can take anywhere from 12 to 14 hours to play sometimes. But I've never had a game of it that long. Never. Our longest game at TI was about 7 hours. But
only 7? That's not
only 7. Only 7. 7 players, 7 hours. But yeah, it's wild because it's this kind of all-encompassing science fiction universe that your players build on the table before you start using hex tiles, and like it is. It essentially gives you the rules and the tools to play, and then it's the players that really control the narrative as it goes, and it becomes just this. Every game of TI has a story, is what we always said. When we played it, it's just. Every single game, one faction does something where everybody at the table screams, and it's just this really fun tool set that leads to some really, really awesome, like, just neat moments at a game table, which I really love. It's not for everybody. Like, some people want a more structured game with like deeper rules and stuff like that, but it's awesome. It's like Star Wars diplomacy. It's great.
Yeah. You play it like you can be the aggressive aliens building up fleets trying to take over the universe, or you can play completely political. Just kind of slide under the radar and kind of gain control. I love that game.
Yeah, and it's the way it is. I mean, like, you can play it that way, but I've never seen another game governed so much by the actions of every player at the table. You have to watch what everyone else is doing, or you could it's a futile point. You can't just immediately go in and go honey badger on everybody else, or you're doomed. You're out early, kind of thing, right? You're sitting on the couch watching TV for the next 6.5 hours while everyone else is playing. But it's a wild game. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, I mean, pen and paper is where my heart is, because it's always been like, I've always been a GM too, so I've always run the games. And just from a storytelling standpoint and stuff like that, like I've always had so much fun with tabletop pen and paper games, D&D, Shadowrun, most recently Twilight 2000, which is like a World War III alternate history thing. Just so much good stuff. Like, there's so much creative stuff, and the best ones give you a rule set to kind of let you go and create your own thing. And if you get any kind of an imagination at all, and it just becomes like this really cool collaborative process, that the closest thing I could really equate it to, when you've got the right group of players and stuff at your table, would be film. Because it's just such a collaborative thing. You got everybody's kind of kicking their part in and pushing the story forward, and it isn't a game in the traditional sense, with winners and losers and that kind of stuff. It really is, just about experiencing a communal thing at the table and having a bit of fun.
Right. Yeah. What I'm realizing is that I don't have any friends.
Dude, your kids, you've got built-in players, and I mean,
that's right. There you go.
If they're into toys now,
that's what I'm leaning into with this. Jeremy, I had this exact same thought too. Jeremy asked, "Is that Drit's sword behind you?"
It sure is. That's my wife's.
Oh, cool.
She's got them both. I've got the Conan swords. She's got the Drizzt swords.
You have others too, don't you? You had like you have some of the Lord of the Rings ones too, I think.
None of the Lord of the Rings. Two
No.
Conan. I've got the Atlantean and Father sword from Conan.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's. I just don't know my swords well enough. It's probably. Yeah,
I've wanted some Lord of the Rings swords.
I just realized that like I don't think I've ever done anything with anybody for 7 hours at a time. At least in like a long time. Um, yeah, I mean, that's it's so that's maybe where the difference is. Like Steve, you mentioned, Dungeons and Dragons since like what was it, 80, 86?
86. Yeah. One of my neighbors, and I was 8, I think, at the time.
And are you like, do you still play with anybody that you played with that long ago, or like?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, that's the thing, right? And that's the like that's part of what I'm sort of excited about. Maybe this is more like me projecting. Maybe my excitement is largely because I've never played D&D ever. But as a like in high school, I played Magic: The Gathering.
Yep.
And I would play with kids at school that I like had no contact with them outside of school. And once I was done high school, I never talked to those guys ever again. And it wasn't because like I didn't like them or didn't care, but like that was the thing that we had in common. And we would whether it was recess or lunch or after school, we'd be in the library playing Magic: The Gathering. We got together once or twice, but like we different grades, different groups, different parts of town, whatever, but we just happened to be in the same place at the same time during school time. Auston, I get the impression that you probably play with like your brother and Kelly or that crowd as well. So I think that maybe that's part of it, is that like this idea is appealing to me because it's sort of a shrunk down version, and I only need like one other, and probably going to be my 7-year-old child that's sort of going to fulfill this sort of.
It definitely makes it easier. Funny enough, like Kelly doesn't do any tabletop games that I know
He's
of.
too busy trolling.
That, but he's also like super into cosplay and going to conventions. That's his thing outside of collecting toys. People always say it, and I've grown to kind of accept it, that Tyler and I are basically the same person. That we like all the same things. We both play Warhammer. We both collect toys. We both like the same music, same movies, etc., etc. But the thing that helps a lot is I know a lot of people that they have their group of friends, and then they have their gaming friends.
Right.
The gaming friends are the ones you go and play D&D Warhammer with, but you're not necessarily going to go to the movies or have dinner with them. Well, your friends are the ones that you'll invite to your wedding. One of them is going to be your best man. One of them is considered your best friend, etc., etc. Well, luckily for me, most of my closest friends are also in that group. My best friends also are into Warhammer and painting and whatnot.
Yeah.
Also enjoy collecting. So that makes it a lot easier. So because I think a lot of times people just go, I don't have time. I don't have time to do stuff because I have a family. I have a social circle. I have work. So, and with the exception of work,
better things to do.
Yeah. And with the exception of work, in my case, my family and social circles are also into miniatures and toys and all that. So that makes it a lot easier for me.
Yeah, for sure. That's I mean, I'm still holding out hope that my wife will get into it once we sort of get it, because she likes games, but she likes an hour of a game, not a campaign. And she said, "Whatever you do, don't get into Dungeons and Dragons." And I said, "I can't promise that. I'm never going to make that promise." I like I said, I've never played it, but I'm not ruling it out. Is what I'm saying.
I'll run you through it on Discord, Ed.
There you go.
One thing what I love, a lot of these companies kind of realize that. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what company it is. If they can appeal to everyone, they will, because they'll bring in more dollars. So I'll use Warhammer as an example because I'm super into it right now and I know it extremely well. lots of people, if they even know a little bit about Warhammer, they go, okay, you buy models, you paint, you build models, you paint models, you play with your models, and you have like 50 to 200 models on a table, and it's like, who the hell has time for that? So Games Workshop goes, well, you can play Kill Team, which is 5 to 6 models.
Yeah.
Warcry, same number of models, but it's the fantasy setting.
Yeah.
So suddenly these 3-hour, potentially long games are a half hour. Like my girlfriend, I've probably poisoned her mind, so to speak, and gotten her into this sort of thing. And I'm trying to get her into Warcry, which is, because again, like you look at painting 50 models, you go, this is overwhelming. I don't have time for this. But you look at painting 5 models. Sure, I can do that over the course of a month or whatever.
She's just gonna get you to paint them anyway.
No, your credit, she's painting them.
All right,
she is painting them.
Sergeant Slaughterhouse Zazel says, I still play with my toys, just in different ways. The Slaughterhouse Wrestling Championships is a way for me to play out a narrative and feel creative. Yeah, so there's different ways to do it. And you know, I just haven't figured mine out yet, which is maybe why I'm in the minority, seemingly, of being as excited as I am about the possibility for this. But definitely check out Zazel's channel and his videos, because yeah, he definitely does, and lots of people do. You know, Auston, your photography, people should check it out. I got the links down below. Steve, you're doing plenty of creative stuff. Link to to Steve's podcast is down below there as well. Which is it's a lot of fun to listen to, because it's a very accessible kind of podcast about film. You know, not just movies, right? It does. You know, you guys know what you're talking about, and it definitely has sort of pushed me to sort of check out some movies that I might have passed on, or reconsider movies that I passed on, or sort of even reconsider my perspective on sort of certain movies. But regardless, yeah, you know, that's sort of what I've got. I mean, we could probably keep going and talk about, you know, games and gaming and all that kind of stuff, but we're at about an hour and a half. We usually shoot for an hour. It never happens, but I don't want to take up too much of your guys' time. Last thing I want to do, and I didn't prep for this because I don't know, I was just listening to you guys talk, and I was sort of just thinking through my own shortcomings and inadequacies, realizing, like I said, that I need to make more friends.
How close to Vancouver are you, Adam?
4 hours.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah, well, that's just it. And it's not.
Vancouver has an amazing tabletop scene, man. Absolutely amazing.
You know what? Kelowna does as well. Like it's it's just not. I just don't know anybody, and I don't. They're opening Games Workshop, or like a Warhammer store in Kelowna.
Auston, just yeah.
Do you guys have a Warhammer store, Auston?
We do. We have a Games Workshop in Victoria, so like 40 minutes away. And on top of that, Warhammer is an exclusive to Games Workshop stores. There's Warhammer everywhere on the island.
Oh, okay. So this one, I just heard about them opening recently, and they're like, every month you can come and get a free miniature and paint it in shop. And I was like, I mean, that's kind of a drug dealer type.
Oh yeah.
Strategy.
We've got one
that's free.
We've got a spot here. Noble Miniatures is the name of the place. Shout out to Phil. He was a former Games Workshop employee. Was in the Canadian Forces. Had an incident over in Afghanistan. Discharged. But this is what he did. He came back to Newfoundland, opened up this Noble Miniatures place, and he gets all of his product direct from Games Workshop, and still has kind of a relationship with them. But he does the paint nights and all that stuff too. And Phil's an awesome guy. And if I was going to get into Warhammer, I would definitely be, you know, frequenting the paint nights and that sort of thing. But
I mean, I've already been buying paints for customizing Mythic Legions and stuff like that. So now this is just like, They also have a thing where like you buy 5, you get the 6th free or something like that. So I was like,
Oh,
well, I'm
yeah.
probably going to be in the shop anyway, so we'll see. But the last thing that I wanted to do before we go, and this is sort of a new thing, I'm sort of on a bit of a mission, if you will. So you know, I hope you'll indulge me. My current mission, my current goal is to get people to subscribe to channels that maybe they wouldn't check something out that might be different, or you know, go to the main page for my channel. I'm not going to ask people to like, subscribe, and hit the notification button. If you want to, you're welcome to, but I'm not going to ask you to. What I'm going to ask people to do is go to the channel page, click on the channels, go check out a channel or two that you've never heard of. Maybe it's a topic that you're not familiar with. And if you hit this little drop down, it says go support these great channels. These are a bunch of channels that are under 1,000 subscribers. Some of them are very close. And if you don't know, at 1,000 subscribers, YouTube basically opens you up to more possibilities, more opportunities, so on and so forth. So I'm really kind of pushing people to kind of just go and subscribe. Subscribing costs you nothing. Go and hit that subscribe button for every one of these guys if you want. If you can. It means a lot to them. And like I said, it's free. It doesn't cost you anything. Besides, you know, these videos will pop up in your feed. And worst case scenario, you'll watch a YouTube video that you don't like. Which I think is not the end of the world. So
no risk to you.
No, that's what I'm saying. No cost, no risk. Just go and check out some of these channels. Some of them are wild. I will tell you that. Weird Fantastic Toy Adventures did a video the other night where they were on for like 4 hours and they were just doing weird. So he was just bringing up weird YouTube videos. So like it wasn't even toy related at some point. It was just. I tuned in for a minute and I was just like, I should be going to bed. But I was sat there for like 20 minutes watching different versions of Thunderstruck done by like weird, you know, jug and string band thing. Like it was just wild. Who knows? Dixie. You might find something you like. You might be disgusted. But go subscribe to a few channels and check them out. Just before we finish up, Jeremy said, what was the name of the game that uses any figure?
If he's thinking of the one I was talking about, there was one called Unmatched.
Unmatched.
Yeah, it's a minis game, but it doesn't use any, like it comes with the miniatures included in the box, and they've got a few different IPs.
Okay.
So they've got like.
You might be referring to the one you were talking about, Adam, when the.
Oh, it might have been, yeah.
About Nightcrawler or using Snake Eyes instead.
Oh, right. The Toy Dominations one. He's just. This is a piece of paper that I printed out. It's like he's just kind of testing out the format stuff. It's not a formatted thing or anything yet. So he's not sure what he's going to do with that. But anyways, well, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you ever so much for hanging out with me and talking toys. Auston, thank you for sharing. Your treasures, your newfound treasures. Okay, I will ask. If you did like the video, please like, please subscribe. If you want to be notified about the unboxing videos and things like that, which are a little bit less, you know, certain days and times, hit that notification bell. For Auston and Steve and myself, thank you so much for joining us. Links to where you can check these guys out are down below. Until next time, thank you, and bye-bye. Have a great Easter long weekend.